I just watched Lawless.
I eat none personally, honey.
A movie about three brothers during the Prohibition era who make and sell moonshine and find themselves in trouble with the corrupt authorities. This is a movie my dad has been telling me to watch for a while now, and I'm really bad at watching movies people tell me to watch. I think part of the reason for that is because when people hype things up, especially movies, you have a high expectation set for it, and then you end up getting let down. He'd ask me if I watched it yet and go, I'm telling you, you need to watch it. Just watch, you're gonna like it, it's so good. So eventually, I says to him, Dad, next movie I watch is gonna be Lawless. So how is it? Well, throughout the movie, I just kept smiling and going, dude, this is so good. When a movie has a killer performance by an actor, a really well done emotional moment, or something else, awesome, I guess, I can't help but smile because it's so good, and that happened a lot with this movie. Lawless has a great cast. Tom Hardy, who I think is always great, even in a movie that might not be so great, like Venom. Shia LaBeouf, back before he was taken as seriously as he is now with movies like Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boy under his belt, giving a fantastic, emotional performance. Jason Clarke is wild in this movie. Jessica Chastain is also delivering a lot of emotion. I loved whenever Dane DeHaan was on the screen, and I loved his character. Guy Pearce makes a great antagonist from the way he looks, to the way he talks, to the way he walks. And Gary Oldman, while having a very minor role, is Gary Oldman. One of the things I loved about this movie's cinematography was the close-ups. They were always appropriate because they always served to show the subtleties in a performance, of which there were a lot of. There were also a couple really memorable, nice shots, too. Something, for some reason, I was not expecting in this movie was the brutality in it. It was so vicious and yet gripping, and really brought you into that world and made you invested, empathetic, and added a lot of weight to the consequences and threats in this movie. While this movie isn't perfect, it doesn't have many problems. I guess one issue I had was some of the talking in the movie was pretty mumbly. That, mixed with the accents, made things hard to understand at first, and I felt lost a few times until I adjusted to this. Closer to the end of this movie, there are a handful of strange edits, cuts mostly, cuts that go back and forth too quick, but nothing too prevalent. A bigger problem than those two with this movie are the few times it uses effects. Green screen, for example. There are 2 times where an actor, you can tell, is in front of a green screen, which is just distracting in that it makes you trip out for a second because there's something off about those moments. You can tell. Also, those 2 shots didn't really even need to be in the movie looking back on them. And then there's this whole part of the movie where it's snowing outside. At first, it's no big deal, it's snow. But then you realize cars and people are going right through it, not affecting or being affected by it, and you see it more closely, and it's CGI snow. I've never seen CGI snow, and I don't know why in the hell they did that. Lawless is 1 hour and 56 minutes long, and while I enjoyed it through and through, it really felt long, almost longer, especially at the end. I'm not spoiling anything by just saying when it felt like the movie should have ended, it kept on going, which I tend to hate in movies. It'll fade on and on, explaining everything to you, things I don't really want to know, things that should be left alone, etc. But this can all be attributed to something I learned when the credits rolled, which is, this is a true story. In most true story movies, these are flaws that arise because this story is a true one and you can't really just cut out whatever you want or change an aspect. Ford vs. Ferrari comes to mind, another true story movie I loved, but which also had the same problem. So I can't really fault it for that. I can only applaud the few true story movies that somehow avoid this. At the same time, credit is also due to the fact this is a true story movie, because it didn't feel like one until I learned it was. It just felt like a pretty gosh darn good movie. And so, all that being said and done, I give Lawless 3.5 stars out of 5. Check out Lawless. Pretty good. I feel like it's not the kind of movie you would just watch one night. It doesn't really have poster description that really draws you in. So I would recommend it. It is worth watching for quite a few reasons. Okay, droning. Cut.